This program is provided by Universal Genesis.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we are really plunging into one of history's just one of the most dramatic success stories out there.
It really is.
We're tackling the core question you sent us about the early Islamic state, what some call the Quran state. How did it achieve such astonishing immediate unity and strength?
And that explosive expansion. The speed is almost bewildering when you look at it.
It truly is. It redefined the map in, under a century?
And our mission today is, purely analytical. We're going to dissect the architecture of that initial success phase. We want to understand the fundamental design, the operating system that gave it so much power right out of the gate.
So we're looking at the engine itself.
Exactly. What made it so strong. We're setting aside, for now, all the later stuff, the philosophical debates, the reasons for decline. This is about the initial design.
The design of the machine before it started to, overheat. We need to find that structural advantage.
Yeah.
So let's start with the foundation. This core idea that the Quran wasn't just a spiritual text.
Right. It was an operational manual for a state.
Okay, unpack that.
Right.
Because that is such a critical distinction.
It's the pivotal difference. I mean, if you look at, say, the New Testament, its focus is mainly on theology, metaphysics, and individual spiritual path.
Sure.
The sources show the parts of the Quran revealed in Medina serve this dual function. Yes, they were revelation, but at the same time, they were a comprehensive, living, a national design document.
A state design drawing. Wow, that's a profound idea because it means they didn't have to spend generations, debating institutions or writing laws from scratch.
The framework was just
there.
Immediately.
So how detailed are we talking here? What was in this blueprint?
It was strikingly complete, which gave them this immediate organizational advantage. The sources confirm it laid out the functional systems for a community state to just work. It was a law code, for one, and an administrative manual at the same time.
So this is not just moral guidance. We're talking about the nitty-gritty of running a city.
Exactly. I mean, take finance. It regulated finance through systems like zakat, the mandatory wealth tax.
Which isn't just charity, right?
Not at all. It was an ideologically mandated, incredibly efficient system for wealth redistribution and, crucially, state financing. It also set up clear rules for debt and contract law.
Which builds commercial trust right away.
Instantly.
Yeah.
You have stability baked in. Then there's social stability. Had clear welfare provisions, systems for poverty relief.
So you're keeping the community fabric strong from the inside.
You're minimizing that economic strife.
Yeah.
And it goes deeper. Complex inheritance law, family law, even down to judicial procedures and military regulations.
It's just astonishing how much technical detail was there from the very beginning. It's like they skipped centuries of legal evolution.
They did. And you have to compare that to the world around them. The late Roman Empire was a mess of tangled, local, customary laws. Competing authorities. This new system was integrated, universal for the community, and it claimed divine sanction.
That completeness just gave them unmatched unity and speed.
Totally. And that unity in law feeds directly into their political structure. You point out something critical. There was no real separation of powers.
Right, which gave them this overwhelming advantage.
Yes. We call it the invincible 3-in-1 structure. And this was the operational core of their stability, from Muhammad through the rightly guided caliphs and into the early Umayyad period. Power was just consolidated.
Okay, spell that out for us. The 3-in-1. Why was that so effective?
Well, in the caliph, you had a convergence of 3 ultimate powers. He was the supreme religious authority.
Okay, number 1.
He was also the political apex of the state.
Number 2.
And he was the military commander. All 3 unified in one person. That's the source of the state's functional speed.
But wait a minute. Putting all that power in one person, that sounds inherently unstable, doesn't it? What stopped rivals from just trying to peel off one of those roles and starting a civil war?
That's the crucial question. And what held it together, at least initially, was the ideology behind the authority. The caliph's political power was tied directly to his religious role.
So there's no way to challenge one without challenging the other.
Exactly. There was no legitimate ideological basis for a purely secular challenge. The idea of, an emperor fighting a pope, like you saw later in Europe.
Right, that was centuries of conflict.
Structurally impossible here. Any challenge wasn't just a political rebellion, it was a religious schism. And that has a much, much higher barrier to entry.
That's a profound difference. You look at the Byzantines with the emperor and the patriarch always jockeying for position. This system it eliminates that internal conflict from the start.
And creates immediate, decisive unity. If the caliph says collect this tax, it's a religious duty, a political decree, and a military order all at once. That integration was the rocket fuel for their expansion.
So the system is strong, it's fast, and it leads to this explosive growth. You mentioned that scale became the ultimate test. It got too big.
Way too big for the original model.
So what did that success mean institutionally? The state had to change or just break?
And the expansion was, it was world historic. The Umayyad and Abbasid lands went from Spain all the way to Central Asia. A state designed for a small community is now ruling millions of non-Arabs.
The blueprint is stretched thin.
Very thin. And this leads to the first major adaptation, the transformation of the Arab core itself.
The Arab aristocratization, as you called it, what does that mean?
It means the original Arab soldiers, the conquerors, they stopped being, nomadic warriors living off spoils. They settled down in huge garrison cities, Kufa, Basra, later Baghdad.
Okay.
And they became what was essentially a bureaucratic middle class. They got status, and more importantly, a fixed salary from the state treasury.
So they go from being independent warriors to, well, salaried employees of the state.
That's it, exactly. It's a profound cultural shock. The Bedouin warrior, whose honor is tied to rating, is now waiting for his monthly stipend. It's a bit like what happened to Roman citizen soldiers centuries earlier.
But they're still the elite, right?
Oh, yes. High prestige, still the core of the stirred. But their function, their relationship to power, had fundamentally changed.
Okay, so that handles the original core. But you can't run an empire that size with just them. You need a massive administration. Which brings us to the Abbasid Revolution, around 750. This was more than just a new family taking over, wasn't it?
Much more. It was a shift from an Islamic state to a fusion state. The Abbasids moved the capital west and started this massive integration of the highly sophisticated Persian administrative civilization.
They realized they needed the expertise of the people they'd conquered.
They absolutely did. To manage an empire, you need an imperial toolkit. So they adopted the Persian Diwan system.
Which was what, exactly?
Think of it as a cabinet of government. It controlled the central treasury, the military payroll, the official correspondence. It was a refined system, centuries old. And this led to the rise of the vizier, a role they borrowed from the Persians.
The caliph's chief executive.
Basically, yeah. The guy managing the day-to-day complexity of this huge bureaucracy.
So the engine gets a massive, efficient upgrade. It goes from a community-level administration to a true imperial system.
That's precisely it. And during this success phase, adopting that Persian rigor led to advanced tax systems, a bulging treasury, and then an explosion in commerce and urban culture.
And the key here is that they were open to it.
Extremely.
Yeah.
At this stage, the civilization was remarkably flexible, open. It was absorbing and integrating these external cultures without much resistance. That institutional flexibility that really powered the Golden Age.
Okay, let's tie this all back to the original question. The source of the strength and then the consequences of that strength.
The strength, well, it came from that integrated system. The core conclusion is that this blend of governance, welfare, military, and law, all anchored by divine sanction, it created the strongest possible framework for a community state.
A perfect engine for unity and expansion.
An invincible governing mechanism, at least initially.
So, what does this all mean? The success itself contained the seeds of its own difficulty. The system was so good it created an empire too big for the original design.
Exactly. The perfect community model was now facing this overwhelming multinational massive burden. The growth exposed the system's limits.
The central pillar of the world is now resting on a foundation designed for, a single, unified community.
And you can almost feel the institutional fatigue starting to set in by the 10th century. Just the sheer complexity of managing taxes in Mesopotamia, courts in North Africa, armies in Central Asia.
All straining that original simple structure.
And that strain is the next chapter. The stability that made the expansion possible eventually starts giving way to complexity and fragmentation. The scale just placed an unsustainable load on that original perfect model.
So the ultimate test isn't the initial design, but how it adapts to its own success, its own scale. The early Islamic society built this powerful empire on an integrated system from the Quran.
But that immense scale, while it's a testament to the design, it proved to be an insurmountable load in the long run.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought, doesn't it? Can a system whose strength is its absolute unity and simplicity, can it really govern a sprawling, diverse, complex world forever?
And that question really marks the end of this foundational period of success and sets up the next great challenge.
A fascinating place to leave it. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
This program is provided by Universal Genesis.